The guide to instantly gain 500 ELO. In this video, we will discuss the grandmaster's thinking algorithm. Skipping any part means throwing away a gem. Watching this video won't help. You must apply this. I'll tell you how in the end. Using this algorithm, you will know when and what to move. I will use examples when necessary. First, let's go through the opening. Number 1. Focus on controlling the central squares e4 and d4, or e5 and d5. Number 2. Rule of the thumb. Develop knights before bishops, as knights are less active than bishops after moving pawns. Number 3. Castle early between moves 7 to 10. Consider connecting the rooks by moving the queen and bringing the rooks to the central files and exert pressure through them. Let's head on to the middle game, the actual deal. Number 1. Evaluate the position before creating a plan. You should re-evaluate whenever there is a change in the position. Pawn structure or material. Consider these factors: material, pawn structure, king safety, and piece activity. Number 2. Creating a plan. A. Identify the objects of the attack. These may include isolated, backward, or doubled pawns and weak squares. B. Find a way to attack these pieces by making use of every piece you have. Let me show you an example. This is a custom example. We're going to evaluate the position and then create a plan. Let's evaluate the king's safety first. The black king is pretty safe. The defending pieces are a rook, a bishop, and a knight. A queen and another knight as reinforcements. In the case of white, the white king has 3 pawns, a rook, a knight, and a bishop. The queen and knight as reinforcements. Let's check the piece activity. The white rook on the F file is dominating the semi-open file, while the black rook is simply defending the pawn on A6. The knight on D7 is simply passive right now, though it can go to C5. The white knight on the queen side has a juicy square D5. The white knight on the king side has a square F5 as well. The white bishop is dominating the board as it controls both the king side and the queen side. The dark squared bishop, though, is very passive. The pawn on D6 and the knight on F6 are reducing its vision. Moving the pawn or the knight could be one of the plans for black. The black queen, on the other hand, is inactive, whereas the white queen dominates the D file. The squares A5, D5, and F5 are weak. The pawns D6 and A6 are weak as well. Now let's plan a way to attack these weaknesses. We're going to make use of all our pieces to attack them. Let's start off with the knights. The knight on C3 can occupy the D5 square, and the knight on F3 can occupy F5 by going to H5. The bishop can go to G5 and try to remove the F6 knight, so that the D5 square will totally be ours. The rooks can either double on the D file or the A file, depending on the opponent's moves. The queen's moves depend on the position and the object. Let me show you an example setup. This position is completely winning for white because of the coordination and activity of the pieces. A bonus tip to prevent blunders. You should always calculate the forcing moves: checks, captures, and threats. Calculate 3 moves of every sequence. I'll upload more videos on utilizing pieces. Let's go to the endgame. In endgames, you must create a plan and utilize your pieces too. I'll upload a video on how to use your pieces in the endgame later. In the endgame, rooks are meant to attack the opponent's pawns, and the king is supposed to defend and help the promotion of passed pawns. Let's create a plan. The pawn on A6 is extremely weak, and we are up a pawn, so we should try and trade the rooks. Another plan is to bring the king out to the center. As for black, the king is far from the heat, so black must try to bring his king out and hold the pawns with his rook. I have yet another bonus tip for you. Avoid pushing pawns if you are passive or your opponent is having more activity, as they can become targets for an attack. How does one implement this into their game? Number 1. Analyze games played by grandmasters and use this thinking algorithm. Skip the first 5 to 10 moves. Play as the winning side. Number 2. Play online games with a time control of 30 minutes or more, and use this thinking algorithm. Gradually decrease the time. Your main goal should be to be able to use this thinking algorithm in Blitz, so that in real games and rapid games, you will easily outperform your opponents. I believe one can achieve a rating of 2000 plus ELO if they implement this into their game added with the basic rules and knowledge. Please let me know how this video was. You can ask for more videos and recommend topics in the comment section. Thank you. Let's look forward to learn and enjoy chess together.